and Foles. All right, ready.
We're live, buddy.
All right, here we go. Sports Bet Betting Insight today. Paulie and Teddy, Wednesday, September 12th. Big game breakdown. 3 football games to get to. A good one. 2 good games tomorrow with the Ravens and the Bengals, and also a game that's been moved up, BC and Wake. And we'll get to Memphis playing on Friday as well. So we'll go rapid fire with those coming up and the play of the day. Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. By the way, I'm at Real Sportsbet on Twitter. He's at Teddy_covers. All the betting news you need to know in less than 20 minutes. Some vicious beats. Game 2 of a doubleheader. The Phillies minus 140. 6-3 in the ninth. The bullpen blows it. They lose 7-6 in 10. They get swept in the doubleheader. That's all she wrote. Now 6.5 games behind Atlanta, who won again.
Yeah, I mean, the Phillies have played like a young team over the course of the last month plus. Bullpen meltdown yesterday. You're going to get a miserable team like the Mets. When you got a 6-3 lead in the ninth, you're in a pennant race. You got to win those games. If you don't, bye-bye. Tough beat. Brutal beat if you had Philadelphia last night. No question.
Yeah, the Nats got them in that one. The Mets and the Marlins under 6.5. It was 3-1 in the ninth. This was brutal. 3-1 in the ninth. The Marlins get 2, and then 5-1, bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, nobody on, a walk, and then a home run. 5-3 final. It goes over. In the loss, DeGrom, 3 hits, 2 runs, takes the loss, a 1.71 ERA, 8-9 on the season. He extends his record, 26 consecutive starts, 3 earned runs or less.
Yeah, and a couple of tough pushes last night as well. Astros, Tigers over 9. I mean, don't say, what's a tough push? This is a tough push, okay? You got the over 9. It's 5-4 in the bottom of the 4th, and it's 5-4 final. That's a tough push, flat out.
Yeah.
You can't call it a bad beat because you don't lose your money, but you're supposed to win money in that game, and you didn't. Same story. Red Sox, Jays under 9. It's 2-0, bottom of the 7th. Final score, 7-2. You don't lose your money, but that's a bet you're supposed to catch. Just like the Phillies were supposed to beat the Nationals, thank you, last night. Those are the ones that when you don't cash, it feels like a bad beat, even though it's only a bad push. Still, no fun if you had Tigers over or Red Sox under last night.
Yeah, that was brutal. It's bad for the books. I can't believe this. The Red Sox took a lot of money. I don't know in Vegas if they were putting the public steaming them up, but 310 up to 360 because Sale, and this was the plan, Sale went 1 inning. He starts, goes 1 inning, Workman the second, then they go to Evaldi, and they're down 2-0 in the 7th, but the Blue Jays bullpen blows it, so a big move there, and they cover the run line. They clinch a playoff spot. And the Indians, plus 112 up to 130. Justin Bieber with the game of his life. My God, I can't believe it. 11 strikeouts and 6 2/3. So Bieber beats us, our first loser in 3 weeks. Rays shut out at home. Glasnow pitched well. 12-game home winning streak done.
Yeah, and Glasnow's been, in many senses, he's been a hard luck pitcher for Tampa because they haven't been winning for him. And again, the game stayed under the total with room to spare because Bieber was mowing everybody down. Indians bullpen behind him gets the job done as well. You can't win if you don't score, Paulie. We had the Rays. They didn't score, even though they only gave up 2. That wasn't enough. Play of the day loser with Tampa Bay.
Yeah, a couple tidbits on ROI in baseball. The Red Sox have 99 wins, and they're number 2 in ROI because of the A's are like 33 games over since the middle of June. They're number 1 in ROI, and the Dodgers lost again. They're 0-6 this year against the Reds. The Kansas City Royals have 95 losses, but it's the Dodgers who have the second worst ROI. Of course, you got the Orioles number 1 down 53 units as they have 103 losses, but the Dodgers, who are 10 games over 500 and still in the playoff race, it tells you that they've taken money again today. Lose some. Tigers plus 230 down to 165. They get beat. And the Mariners took money. Another listless performance. They can't hit. They're 0-3 this year against the Padres. They lose at home 2-1. That should do it now. The A's with an 8.5 game lead for that second wild card over the Rays and the Mariners.
Yeah, and when we talk about big moves in baseball in September, we're not talking about public money. All right, the public is those have been betting baseball all summer, still betting baseball, but it's not like there's a groundswell of baseball action that all of a sudden comes into play when September rolls around. You see that in October. not necessarily September. So when we're talking about the Red Sox getting bet up to minus 360, that's wise guy money. The Mariners
No
getting
way.
up to minus 210.
No way.
Oh, yeah.
There's no way.
Oh,
they were
yeah. That's
betting
sharp money on
He was
Boston. What do you
pitching
mean?
one
No way?
inning, Sale through one inning. Now, every sharp guy I knew was taking the Blue Jays.
Well, it's not about which sharp guys you talk to, Paulie. It's about what did the broader market do. There's not a 50-cent move on an MLB game in September based on the public's kind of was.
I don't agree with you.
Like,
The
doesn't
Dodgers take money every game. That's public money.
That's
No way.
syndicate money. It's not public money. It's not the same thing.
I don't agree.
Okay.
No way. I don't agree. The public loves the Dodgers in this town, and they were laying 380, 390 in games at Square Shops last year, no matter who was pitching when they were going through that run.
I'm not disagreeing with you. Even though I'm cutting you off and I am disagreeing with you, I understand the public's betting them. The issue is, how is this line moving? The line is moving 50 cents based on a syndicate that is getting down $100,000 in a bunch of different books on this game, not bettors who are chucking in $20 and $50 and $100 bets. It just doesn't work that way, Paul.
That's an asinine bet. I think if you're laying 360 with Evaldi against the Blue Jays or with Workman, that's crazy. That's one of the worst bets I've ever seen, even though it won. All right, weather impact. We got the hurricane. It's going to wreak havoc with wind totals and totals in the games. Second straight year, tough beat for Central Florida. They were supposed to play Georgia Tech last year. That was canceled. Their game against North Carolina was canceled. A monster matchup, West Virginia and NC State's been canceled. East Carolina and Virginia Tech has been canceled. Norfolk State and Liberty was postponed. That was moved to December 1st, still being monitored. Marshall, South Carolina, Georgia Southern Clemson, and Old Dominion Charlotte.
Sure, and there's more than that, of course, but let's start with this. It's an old Wall Street thing that back in the day. You buy on the rumor, you sell on the news. When it comes to betting weather, we're going to talk about all these totals that have already moved and moved and moved and moved. If you want to be betting weather and getting the best of these numbers, you got to be betting on Monday, flat out. You got to be looking at the advanced weather report, and there will be situations like this in September and October. And then November, December, you have the blizzards and the winter storms that come in and send these totals flying down. If you're looking at the weather on Monday, you're going to be able to, quote unquote, bet the rumor. And then when the news comes, obviously later in the week, because look at these totals. I mean, the Temple, Maryland total steamed under 54 down to 45. Now they're starting to bet it back up. It's back up to 48.5. You talk about ODU Charlotte. That got bet 48 down to 40. Southern Miss App State, 51 down to 46. Clemson, Georgia Southern, 49 down to 44.5. Of course, the Tigers are 33-point favorites in that game. No parlays on that one. The South Carolina bet down, Marshall, 51.5 down to 45. Now we're already seeing some buyback on some of these. That's back up to 46.5. So those who got down early get great numbers. Those who come after the fact, you're not getting good numbers, and you're actually seeing some buyback the other way after the significant total move. One more worth talking about, Ohio, Virginia. That game got moved to Nashville, Vanderbilt Stadium in Nashville. It's a long way from Charlottesville. The total was bet down from 49 down to 41. And then after they were announced that it wasn't going to be in Nashville, total back up to 52. So that's a game with a really wild move. And of course, Virginia's home field no longer exists. The market's recognizing that. The Cavs now only 3-point chalk. Earlier in the week, they were as high as 7.
Sports Bet Betting Insight today. Paulie and Teddy, SBR picks. Low Shack in the bag coming up next. Let's go rapid fire, big game breakdown. Good game tomorrow on ESPN. This game has been moved up. Concerns about travel and the hurricane. 2:30 Pacific now. BC against Wake. BC is 5.5, 53.5 the total. Last year, Wake was 8-5, BC was 7-6, and Wake won 34-10. BC has beat UMass, no contest, 55-21, and they ran out Holy Cross 62-14. Remember, Hinton is still suspended, the quarterback for Wake. This is the last game of the 3-game suspension. Then he comes back. Sam Hartman's played well, 620 yards and 4 touchdowns. He was terrific in the win that Thursday night at Tulane in overtime, 31-51, 378, and 2 scores. So they're 2-0. but they're shorthanded here. No quarterback and the tight end suspended. Doesn't matter who you are. They said, I don't care if you're a star player. You screw up, you're still suspended. And BC supposed to have a good team. It's a workable schedule for them coming up. So both teams 2-0 here, and an interesting handicap.
Sure. Now, when we look at the series history, back in 2015, when the seniors were freshmen, 3-0 final score in this ball game. That was an ugly, ugly affair. 2 years ago, another tight game, 17-14. By the way, the 3-0 final score, that was in Boston. 2 years ago was 17-14, BC with the road win. Last year, Wake pretty dominant, 34-10 with the road win. So it's not like there's a whole lot of home field edge in this series in recent seasons. And you talk about that 3-0 game. This is BC's defensive end, Zach Allen. My freshman year, we lost 3-0. That was a pretty tough loss. And the following year, going down there and then winning the bowl game. It just seems like every single year, these games are crucial to our season. Whether it's making a bowl game or conference play, those games have a lot of meaning. We get this W. It's going to be huge for the program. Now, talking to guys around town and reading, BC, they're not in the top 25 nationally. They are being priced like a top 25 team. They are power rated as a top 25 team right now. This is a market, a betting market that really likes the BC Golden Eagles. They like the quarterback, Anthony Brown. They certainly like the running game for Boston College. They've been able to pound, ground and pound pretty significantly. Obviously, with A.J. Dillon so far, 247 yards on 26 carries. And you see a quote like this from linebacker Conestration. Quote, I know everybody's hungry. Everybody's hungry for this game. There's no looking ahead. There's no looking behind. It's laser focus on this. It's a lot of pro BC quotes, especially for a team in revenge of a loss they suffered last year, when this year they're the better squad.
All right. This is Friday on ESPN. Memphis against Georgia State. Memphis is 27 at home, 58.5 the total. It was ugly last week. Week 1, they beat Mercer, and the game was over in the first quarter. Remember, they lost Ferguson, their quarterback, and Miller, their star wide receiver, who's now with the Bears. They go on the road in a monsoon and get beat against Navy, who was off that pounding they took at Hawaii. So they lost this, and they took money in that game. That was bet up from 4-7, and Memphis lost outright and could not move the ball, although that game needed an arc with all the rain. Still have Henderson, their star running back, as well. So they take on Georgia State, laying 27 here, Teddy. Well, this will be the play of the day coming up later. What are your thoughts on this one?
Well, I mean, look, Darrell Henderson, he leads the nation in rushing, 13.1 yards per carry through his first 2 games of the season. He had 212 yards on the ground and 3 touchdowns against Navy. But in that game, we saw the quarterback get banged up in that contest. He wasn't 100%. Brady White expected to be 100% this week. And, I mean, we're talking about a guy in Tony Pollard who made a bunch of preseason All-American teams who's been a non-factor so far. Only 1 touch against Navy. Quote, this week I'm feeling good and should be able to cut loose. That's a quote from Pollard. So all of a sudden, a Memphis team has their quarterback healthy, has their playmaker healthy, has a running back who's leading the nation in yards per carry. And, oh, by the way, they're facing a Georgia State team. Look, they lost 41-7 to NC State last weekend. Okay, last year they went 7-5, but they were 3 times in the regular season a dog of a touchdown or more. They played Penn State, Troy, and App State. They were non-competitive in all 3 of those games. They lost 56-0, 34-10, and 31-10. The offense just didn't work. Quarterback Dan Ellington, he's thrown for 381 yards and 3 touchdowns so far. He's a dual threat QB. He can run the football, although no Panther back has more than 52 rushing yards so far the first couple of games. But Georgia State is outclassed in this contest. 7-win team last year, but none of the wins coming against anyone resembling Memphis. And the Tigers, from all indications, are coming to this game pretty hungry and pretty focused with a national TV audience watching. Yeah, we'll get back to this one for play of the day.
All right, good info there. And then tomorrow, good game. Week 2, NFL kicks off Thursday on NFL Network. Ravens at Cincy. Ravens are 144 the total. I guess you could say it's revenge for both teams. Here we are again in week 2, where the Bengals are on Thursday Night Football. Last year, after they got shut out week 1 at home by the Ravens 20-0, they couldn't score, couldn't get in the end zone against the Texans. And after the game, they fired Ken Zampese, the OC, and Laser took over. And then in week 17, we all know that they knocked the Ravens out of the playoffs with that miracle touchdown pass on 4th and a mile that put the Bills in the playoffs. Both teams won last week, and so far, so good for that Bengals offense. Mixon had a good job on the ground at 90 yards. A.J. Green had 2 fumbles, but they moved the sticks with A.J. Green. Ross had a touchdown. Dalton has weapons here. And, of course, the Ravens played the high school Bills, and that thing was 40-0 early in the third quarter, a total bloodbath. But as we discussed last week, the Ravens have new weapons now, new wide receivers, and Brown caught a touchdown. Crabtree had a nice game, too. So there's weapons there for Flacco, and they had some packages for Lamar Jackson as well.
Yeah, I mean, from a trend standpoint, Cincinnati's owned Baltimore of late, which is kind of surprising. And I went back and looked. I'm like, really? I don't remember that. Bengals are 7-2 straight up the last 9 meetings against the Ravens since the 2013 season finale. And that's not just it. When you also look at the trends, so the trends favoring Cincy in that regard, you can also look at the trends. Ravens off a home win by 21 or more, off a big blowout. How about this? 3-12 straight up in their next ballgame. They only covered 4 point spreads in that role. They have not responded well in the Harbaugh era the following week off a big blowout victory. That being said, you talk about the new weapons for Baltimore. That was very real. We saw 10 different guys catch passes for the Ravens last week. And when you have Snead and you have John Brown, you have Crabtree, you have Max Williams and Javarius Allen, a lot of different guys can do a lot of different things for this offense. While we like Cincy's defense, I don't know if we like them enough. Remember, Indy's going down the field to score the winning score before they fumble, and all of a sudden Cincy wins by double digits. It's a little bit of a fraudulent final score, in my opinion. A lot of talk about Lamar Jackson for this ballgame. Cincy really want, quote, the big thing is to limit him early so they don't use him throughout the game. They're worried about Lamar Jackson coming in and running some wildcat. He had 39 rushes on 7 yards against Cincy. Against Buffalo in the opener.
Yeah, they did. The Colts did go up and down the field against the Bengals, although Dunlap was a beast in that game. The egregious body weight sack they called the hit on Luck was horrible, and they got the defensive touchdown late. So the Ravens were number 1 last year in turnover differential. They had a great defense, according to Football Outsiders, and I guess eye test as well with the mainstream stats. This is good info, though, about who do they actually go up against with the quarterbacks. I mean, that is solid that they went against E.J. Manuel, Matt Moore, Hundley, Savage, Brissett, and Kaiser twice. And then, of course, they get Peterman out of the gates. And, of course, they shut him down. And now that experiment's over because today the Bills named Allen the starter Sunday.
Yeah, it didn't take long for the Nathan Peterman experiment to end in Buffalo. But you're absolutely right about Baltimore beating up on weak defenses. They are on weak quarterbacks, I should say. A lot of their positive turnover differential last year had to do with the fact that they were facing E.J. Manuel and Matt Moore and Brett Hundley and Todd Savage and Deshaun Kaiser twice and the likes. This is Andy Dalton. And basically, in my mind, your bet on this game is what you think of Dalton. Is Dalton a middle tier, bottom tier QB, or is Dalton, with the weapons he has around him, a better than average quarterback? Your ranking of Dalton, in my mind, is how you should bet this ballgame. I'm neutral on it. I'm not going to get involved on Thursday night.
Okay, very good. We'll go quick hitters tomorrow in college football. Pretty good card, even though that West Virginia NC State game. We'll do Florida State. Florida State taking money. How about that? Dungy's been awesome with Syracuse. We'll do Oklahoma State, Boise. Boise wins this game. They can go undefeated. They're on the road. Auburn, LSU as well. Ohio State and TCU will run all those games down coming up on Thursday. And back to the NFL on Friday. Money time, play of the day. What do you want to do? Back to Memphis. Take it away.
Yeah, let's go game number 106. Betting number 106, that's the Memphis Tigers minus 27 before it gets to 4 touchdowns. I don't think Georgia State has an answer on defense. I don't think Georgia State has an answer on offense. And I think Memphis is going to name the score in this one. I wouldn't be shocked if this one's covered by halftime. Memphis minus 27. Yeah, we'll lay it. That's our play of the day.
All right, very good. Fun show. Let's keep it going. Let's stay hot. Winning streak's over, but they get back out there today. And only 2.5 weeks in the MLB season. Should be a good day with 6-day games coming up today. We'll recap that tomorrow as well, and we'll get to college. Sports Bit, betting insight today. All the betting news you need to know in less than 20 minutes. Paulie and Teddy, SBR picks. Low Shack in the bag up next. Thanks for watching.